Hi guys, I'm Mr. Martin. This is my INTEGRA-7 librarian and editor. What you see is the librarian part where you can select a type of synthesizer. We have the supernatural types and we have the PCM types and also all the modules which contains different types of synthesizer, those 5. You can select an instrument. You can select a group of a synthesizer, a group of instruments, and then some you want to hear. Jesus, what's that? Okay, sorry. Start all over. You can select a type of synthesizer. You can select a group of instruments and then an actual instrument, for example Spanish Night. You can try it out on the keyboard and you can play the phrase associated with the instrument. And you have all the details about the instrument here. The name, type, the tone number in the tone list, if you have it on paper or PDF. You have the bank as most significant byte and least significant byte. And you have the combined if you need, for example for Steinberg DAW programs. And then you have the actual program change number here. You would need those to put into your DAW program when you want to play something. You also have the selection of USB MIDI connections or any MIDI connections, but you should use the INTEGRA-7 and it's automatically detected if your INTEGRA-7 is connected. Otherwise it will wait for it. You can select what part you're working with. You have 16 parts as is normal with MIDI. There is also a search window where you can search for things. For example, gives thunder in tones. There is one tone in general MIDI 2 and there are 4 that I have been working on. I can filter out, for example, the user tones, and you see my own tones disappears. There's also a section for keys in different drum sets that includes a drum sound, thunder sound in this case. And you can select from here. Now I selected this one and it has found thunder down here. Yeah, 3 different thunders. Those 3 here. And as you can see, if you select a drum kit, let's clear this search box and we pick some other drum kits, Supernational, or we will use the PCM drum kits, and you select, for example, power drum set. You will see all the key labeled with the different sounds. And if you cannot see them all, you can always move the keyboard to the right and left to see more. And it will, of course, then also shift pitch if you're playing a synth tone. The librarian also can help you remember what sounds you like. You have over 6,000 sounds in the INTEGRA-7, so it's a good thing to have favorites. You can add a favorite, for example this power drum set. If you want to have a new folder to sort it under, you can just add a new folder. You see there are stars here. It's because the different folders doesn't contain this sound we selected. So let's just put it in here. Click add power drum set. So now it's in this one. You can also, if you want, just double click and then you get it in here too. And you can from the Librarian. You can see now that's in the favorites because it's green. You can go to favorites and search for something you want, select it or just double click it and it will be selected and set on the INTEGRA-7 at the same time. So you don't have to go to the front panel. Add favorite, yes, and you can also remove favorites the same way. You have a play button here to play the phrase that is associated with the sound, and you can play it here on the keyboard. That's not too strong. A dog. Yeah, it works. Siren. Yeah, it works too. Okay. We also have a motional surround page where you can put your instruments, you can label them, as you can see, and move them around. This works fine on the computer. Everything works on a tablet, and actually it even works on a phone, Windows phone, but the screen is too small, so don't try that. It will not be very practical. If you don't want to see one of the instruments, for example part 3 here, you can just turn it off. And you can save and load these settings in files, Windows files. So if you, for example, have your orchestra or studio set up for a certain recording, you can also have the emotional surround setup stored in the file in the same folder as your DHW program uses, for example. You have an edit tone. So if you select a tone, let's start with the PCM synth tone. Let's start with the acoustic piano on 28 voice piano and press edit tone. You will see here the editor. Then you have all the settings and you have all help you need. This first page shows automatically when you open the editor. It explains how the synthesizer type, in this case PCM synth tone, works. And when you select different controls here, you will see that the help changes as well. It gives you valid information on how to use this. You can select the part you're working on, preferably part 1, and you can select the page of control sets you can work on, exactly corresponding to the ones on the INTEGRA-7. Except for that we also have a save and delete page. This setup in here will differ depending on the type of tone we're using. If you select some other type of tone here, you will lose the settings for the piano we started out with, and you will have a default set instead. Some of the pages are too large. We can see that in multiple effects to be practical to handle in one window, and those, for example, in the for step filter we have 3 pages for the step filter settings, because it has 32 lines here in the editor for the filters. 16, I mean, line 1 to 8 and 9 to 16, and then we have the actual settings for it. You can edit everything here that you can edit on the front panel. With save delete, you can select a slot. Here you see my thunders we saw before, and you can type a name for your sound and then save it. It doesn't like when you try to save the same name again, that will make a mess, so then the save button is disabled. But if you change the name and it is not in the list, the save button works. You can also delete from here. You have the chorus send level and reverb send level here, and you have the phrase play button as well, so you can listen to your edits. It can be playing over again while you're toying around with the controls to see what it does. You can reset to the default for the selected synthesizer type. Let's return to the Librarian and see. We have one more thing here. We have a studio set editor, and this will read all your studio sets. It takes some time the first time you open it, but not next time. You will have all the names here, and also your own ones, for example my orchestra and guitar setup. So you can select them. You can see all the common settings here for a studio set. This is all set up the way it is listed in the MIDI implementation chart, so it contains everything. The INTEGRA-7 itself doesn't present it this way, so you don't have this overview on the INTEGRA-7. These are some common settings. Here are 2 pages, another page with common settings, and then here we have common settings for each part in 2 pages, so it's a lot of settings here. The system common settings contains the tuning and stuff, the system control settings, MIDI, source, clock source, system clock source for MIDI, etc. And we have the voice reserve, where you reserve how many tones you can play for an instrument. You reserve for the instrument. Chorus settings and the reverb settings. And you can see if you change something here, the setup down here will differ depending on what's relevant for the setting you have. Motional surround, well, you wouldn't need that now because you have the graphical one, but it's here as well. And the master equalizer. These are for the actual studio set, orchestra. But this column is for each part's settings. So you select what parts you want to make settings for here. And then for each part you have the common settings in 2 pages. And after that you have the keyboard parameters, the scale tune parameters, the MIDI setup, what to listen to, etc. Motional surround, which you would probably not need, but you can move the instruments around here as well. And the equalizer. And of course you can save, delete, name it, and select the slot where you wish to save it. Well, that's short all about what the program can do. But remember, editing a tone, you've got lots of controls, especially if you select a PCM synth tone. As you can see, page common, wave, partial mapping table, well, etc, etc, etc. There's a lot here. And for example, under multiple effects you've got multiple settings as well. Lots of them, 67 of them. And remember, whenever you edit anything here, it's also changed in the INTEGRA-7. And when you select to save or delete something, it's saved and delete on the INTEGRA-7 as well. So when you restart your INTEGRA-7, you still have your settings there. Well, now, that's all, folks. Thank you from Mr. Martin.